What's up,
guys?
Everybody, welcome back to the 2017 edition of Consider This
Movie Show.
Yeah.
New year, new me.
New year, new you.
New year,
Same
new
me.
movies.
New movies.
New movies. We're going to talk to you tonight about some of the movies you can expect in 2017 between January and March. We're going to have an April through July segment eventually. We're also going to talk our favorite movies of 2016, a little bit of a recap of an interesting year in film, definitely. And we're going to be giving away, if you stay tuned for the show, we're going to be giving away a digital copy of Deadpool today, courtesy of Fox, 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
So
big deal, big year, big me.
Big you. There's also a lot of big movies that we're going to talk about later. But before we do, let's give a quick overview of what we're going to be doing in the next few weeks. If you turn your attention to the lower half of the screen, next week is our Oscar nominations episode. We're going to be talking about who the Oscars decide to nominate, who the Academy decide to pick for their favorite movies of the year, the best pictures, and so forth. We're going to give our opinions on that and some predictions. We'll make a game out of it.
Yeah.
So that'll be next week. And then 2 weeks, we have Game Night. And Game Night is when we bring our whole box office showdown to a close for round one. Whoever has the most points in the box office game gets to give the loser a challenge. We're also going to be playing some movie trivia, some movie-related games. It'll be fun. We'll talk
Fun day.
We'll talk some
Fun
game
day
movies,
ahead.
maybe some sports movies. I know the Super Bowl is fast approaching. Maybe we'll work that in there.
Best
So
football movies.
that's what you have to look forward to soon. And without any further ado, this is our 2016 Top 10 episode. So what'd you think of 2016 as far as movies go?
2016, what a fantastic year. You know why?
Why?
Because there were the most people ever on Earth in 2016.
Was it?
Yeah.
So that means there should be a lot of movie money going on.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's more people who want to see movies, which means there's more people who want to make movies, which means there's more movies. So we get a lot of things to choose from. It's not all great, but a lot of it is great.
A lot of it's awesome. I mean,
it's very good.
The more variety we have in the movie industry, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because on one side, you got a lot more chances for great movies, but on the other hand, you get a little overcrowded in the theater. And we're going to see a little bit of that when we talk about March, especially tonight. March is a bit of a crowded month. But
save up your money for March.
Before doing that, we're going to talk a little bit more about 2016. 2016, I'd call a disappointing year for blockbusters.
I would agree.
Every summer, I'm excited for the summer blockbusters we're going to get. The superhero movies, the loud explosion movies. And they don't have to be good because they're blockbusters. They're not always going to be pinnacles of entertainment. But this was
you don't always get the best movies you rent from Blockbuster.
Well, Blockbuster is another story. We could talk about that eventually. But you're expecting a good time at the movies over the summer and even throughout the year when you have the scattered blockbusters like Batman vs. Superman.
Big superhero movies.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them. These are the movies you get excited for. And this year, those movies, pretty much almost all of them disappointed me.
Yeah.
However, going in on the smaller scale movies, lower budget, even the indie films, we had a lot of hits.
There were some good.
There was a lot of good ones. So this is the year where you guys should. Those movies are. What's nice about those movies is those are the ones that usually end up on Netflix or Amazon Prime, so they're easier to get a hold of. And those are the ones we're going to talk about a little bit later. Were there any particular movie moments you want to bring up for 2016?
There were some good movie moments, but I think they're all pretty much in my top 10, so I'm not going to spoil anything.
You're going to hold off on that?
Yeah. I'm going to hold off on the moments until we reach them.
Let's talk a little bit about box office. The studio who had the greatest year this year was Disney.
Oh my God, they love money.
They have a money printing machine,
Money.
essentially. They have the top 5 movies of the year, worldwide box office gross. What was the number you gave for how much they made this year worldwide?
$500 billion.
Roughly $500 billion, but it's really closer to
Johnny Manziel style. They made $7 billion.
$7 billion. 4 or 5 of their movies made $1 billion?
They made the top 5 movies of this year worldwide, and they averaged $1 billion. I'd say Jungle Book came in at 5, just short of $1 billion.
Okay.
So they made $4 billion.
But in the top 4, we had Zootopia, Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange. Was that $1 billion movie?
Doctor Strange was not a
or
$1 billion
the other two?
movie.
Finding Dory.
Finding Dory, and
Oh, I'm missing a big one, aren't I?
Rogue One.
Star Wars Rogue One.
Rogue One actually has not made $1 billion yet.
But it's projected to. It's tracking $4 billion. So you can definitely see that on the billion radar. So Disney had an awesome year. A couple studios had not so great years. One I'm going to point out, perhaps not financially, but Warner Brothers had a lot of stinkers this year. Of course, they had the superhero ones, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But they also had like The Legend of Tarzan. Didn't do gangbusters. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was underwhelming, I think, in the box office, they thought. And even review-wise, it wasn't fantastic. Yeah, they had a lot of stinkers this year.
In the box office.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the other studios. A24 is a studio I want to bring up. If they have their stamp on any movie, I'd definitely check it out. They were responsible for Ex Machina last year, Moonlight this year. Everybody wants some. They have a lot of good movies under their belt. And they actually released a little trailer today that it's a surprise. They didn't say what the movie's about, and there's not a lot of context, but it seems like a cool sci-fi movie.
You got a name for me?
It's Untitled. You got to go to their YouTube, and the name is just Untitled. So that's one you should check out.
Ooh.
So you guys should check that out. But yeah, Warner Brothers, not so hot. Disney on a super hot streak. And on that note, I guess we'll talk about some of our stinkers of the year. I want you to bring up we're going to talk about our most disappointing movie, or our most disappointing movie experience of the year, and our least favorite movie of the year before we jump into our honorable mentions and top 10.
The suspense is killing me.
What were you most disappointed by at the theater? A movie you were excited to see, and it just completely let you down.
A movie that is trying to get into the best animated category this year, Sausage Party.
Ooh, not a fan?
I hated it. I didn't get it.
That one was pretty well received.
But I get what they were trying to do, but it didn't hit me at all. It was dumb. I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't think it was funny.
It does lose its shock value pretty soon in a movie like that. I mean, that's the kind of movie where they were going for, hey, it's an animated, kids-looking movie, but with a lot of cursing and profanity.
It was well animated. The music in it was fine, but I didn't like anything else about it.
The songs in it weren't your favorite of the year?
No. Yeah, not quite.
No best song nomination next week?
I hope not. I think a lot of other songs deserve it over anything from Sausage Party. And it's not very funny when the entire appeal of the movie is, wow, I'm a hot dog bun and I'm cursing.
Yeah, it's definitely the raunch value. If you're into the raunchy movies, and this is definitely a different kind of raunchy experience, I think. It's worth checking out.
I'm generally into raunchy movies, but I just wasn't a fan. I didn't think any of it worked.
So that was disappointing for you. For me, I mentioned it earlier, Batman vs. Superman was a movie I was very excited for. I mean, how could you not be excited? It's Batman, it's Superman. They're getting together. They're fighting. There's a little bit of Wonder Woman in there. Doomsday makes an appearance for some reason.
Yeah.
And
Jesse Eisenberg.
It was just a clunky movie. I don't think it's the worst movie ever, but it's a very clunky movie, and it's really hard to enjoy a movie with that many problems with pacing and editing and acting and character motivation and just all these things you throw into one movie, and it's hard to redeem. So Batman vs. Superman just disappointed the heck out of me, man. And
I can understand that.
On the same wavelength, I'm going to talk about my least favorite movie of the year. Another Warner Brothers DC outing, Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, I do think, is one of the worst movies ever. It's so bad. It's poorly cut. There's all these transitions that are horrible. The characters have no redeeming values. I mean, they're villains, but there's nothing interesting about them. The story's bland, and even the motivation of the film to create a team to fight Superman or some kind of supernatural being just falls flat, and there's just this weird hula hoop dancing scene with the witch in the movie. It's just a mess. So, Suicide Squad, you're not making my top 10, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think suicide was an apt word for that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I'm going to re-mention what your most disappointing movie was my least favorite movie of the year. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
I can't fault you for that one.
Was awful. I thought Suicide Squad was not good. I didn't enjoy it, but it felt like a movie. Not a good movie, but a movie. Batman vs. Superman was not a movie. Nothing worked whatsoever. There were like cool little things in there, but none of them had any context whatsoever. So as a movie, it totally fell flat. I didn't enjoy one moment of it, and the entire movie, I was like, what? How did that happen? That doesn't make any sense. Why did this person just suddenly do that? Why did they just get a power for no reason?
Yeah, that's understandable.
Why? Like, none of it makes any sense whatsoever, and I'm getting worked up just talking about it. It was I did not like it at all.
Garbage.
A lot of people really liked it. It made a lot of money. Less money than they expected.
Yeah, that's the weird
but
thing.
A lot of money.
Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman, I think, collectively made at least 1.5 billion.
At least.
Maybe more. So Warner Brothers, you're making bad movies, but you're doing something right, I guess. I guess it's just a good property to be on, right?
I mean, to each his own. If you like the movie, that's awesome. Batman and Superman are really cool. But I hope they make better movies with these iconic superheroes.
I mean, this year we have Wonder Woman and Justice League Part 1, I believe, or is Justice League? I don't know.
I'm not excited for Justice League. I have higher expectations for Wonder Woman.
I'm cautiously optimistic too, yeah. Hopefully it's good. And those are our least favorite movies of the year. Some of the bad ones, some of the garbage stink piles. We're going to jump into our top 10 in a moment, but I feel like we should preface it saying we haven't seen everything yet. So be prepared for some revisions, possibly later down this month or even in the coming month while we see some more movies.
Episode 9A.
We could have an episode 9A, 9.5 or something. But that's because some of these movies were open in limited releases, or it's harder to see these Oscar movies around this time. You have to wait usually for a wider release.
Yeah.
And we're just busy too. But I want to preface it saying I haven't seen Moonlight yet. That's a big one everyone's been talking about. Silence, Hacksaw Ridge, and Fences are also on my list, and those are some big ones, I think.
It's hard to count Silence in the 2016 category because I don't think anyone could see it.
I've seen a few people that have seen it, but yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
it hasn't been released for
almost anybody
in many
to
places.
see it.
I think New York City and Los Angeles had a lot of screenings, but those are
really
hard to get to. But those are some I haven't seen, and another one was Patterson. So those are some of mine that don't be mad if they're not on my list. I just haven't seen them. What about you?
There's quite a few movies that I want to see that I haven't seen, but the ones that I believe could hit the top 10: Fences, Hidden Figures, Patterson, Silence. So, and sneaky fun pick, Deepwater Horizon. I have not seen yet. Patriots Day. Also.
Yeah, those are some that could honestly make the list. I mean, there's going to be some out of left field ones, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're going to get seeing those and update you with our lists. Before we get started, do you want to make some honorable mentions? Some movies that you have seen that just didn't quite make the cut?
Well, now that you just told them what I was going to do, I don't want to do it anymore.
No? All right. Well, then my honorable mentions are one I really like. Two actually are horrors. The Witch and Ouija Origin of Evil I thought were great horror films this year. Ouija goes for more of a classic kind of horror in the 50s, 60s realm. And The Witch does something really interesting. It sets it even further back than that. I think 16th, 17th century. And it was just awesome. It's a very eerie, creepy movie. I suggest both of them. And the third one is one that hasn't gotten a lot of love, but I really liked it. Hail Caesar. It's the Coen Brothers movie that came out this year. It's sort of a love letter to 50s cinema, 50s Hollywood. And it's just nice seeing this movie and taking a trip through all these different genres that were super popular in the 50s and seeing Josh Brolin and even Channing Tatum take us on this journey. So those are the three that didn't quite make my cut. What about you?
I'm going to agree with one of those. I have The Witch in my honorable mentions. I thought it was awesome, really creepy, just a very different type of horror movie, almost a thriller in a way.
Yeah.
But just not super horrifying, not a bunch of jump scares, but it was entertaining, it was creepy, it had me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I'd like to see more movies like that kind of either visit a time period in a horror sort of way or just think out of the box.
I also want to see what this director has in store for us soon.
Exactly.
He's cool.
Yeah. My next one would be Magnificent Seven. It didn't get a whole lot of love from critics, but I had a ton of fun. I don't think it was a top 10 movie this year, which is why I didn't put it there, but I had a lot of fun watching it. The action was really cool to just sit back and popcorn type of movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's an awesome movie to just sit back and enjoy, and it didn't make my honorable mentions, but it's in the top 20 for me at least.
Great. Yeah, it's star-studded cast of Chris Pratt is on fire right now. Denzel Washington's always great. Vince D'Onofrio's awesome. Ethan Hawke. I definitely recommend it if you like action, westerns, anything like that.
And then looking at your third honorable mention, I think this is going to shock some people.
Yeah, if you expect me to be like a super critic and have the same picks as everyone else, then you wouldn't expect me to not include La La Land in my top 10. But I had several problems with it. It was close, yeah. I thought it was very well done in certain aspects. I didn't get into it from the start. It wasn't for me in certain parts. I thought it was very well done. The ending, it came together beautifully. Cinematography is excellent, but there are a lot of parts that I really didn't like about the beginning of this movie in particular that I can't put it in the top 10.
Well, I can't say it's on my list. We'll just have to see where it ends up being. So, without any further ado, we're going to get started with our top 10. We're going to start with you. So, Tim, tell us, what is your number 10 movie of 2016?
My number 10 was my number 1 when I saw it, but it's been a long time since then, and it slipped a little bit because of all the great competition around it. Captain America: Civil War. It was one of the better Marvel movies, and I think they're all quality movies. There's a lot of great moments, as you said before. The moment that everyone points out is the big 12 superhero fight scene at the hangar. It's awesome. There's all this spectacle going on.
Around halfway through the movie.
Shots and explosions and giant people, and it's great. That wasn't my favorite part of the movie. One of my top 3 probably favorite movie moments of the year is a particular moment where Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, finds out a secret toward the end of the movie and gets very emotional. And it's something, because up until that point in the movie, it had felt like a slightly better Avengers Age of Ultron, just with a bunch of action and not a whole lot of emotion. And then they brought the emotion, and then the emotion went into the action.
And that adds more stakes
awesome.
to that last fight scene.
Adds more stakes. It was just really, really great to watch.
I definitely don't disagree with you. That was one of the movie's better moments.
Yeah.
So that's your number 10, huh?
That is
Marvel
my number
working
10.
its way in. What'd you think of it compared to Doctor Strange?
I thought it was much better than Doctor Strange.
Yeah? Do you think Doctor Strange did anything more interesting in...
I thought it set up characters just as well as Iron Man did, but I don't think the rest of the movie stabilized and showed growth in the characters anywhere near as close as Iron Man. Well.
All right, that's a good top 10 pick. That's a good number 10 spot. We're going to jump into mine, and I really liked Hell or High Water. This was a movie with Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, and I'm forgetting the third guy's name, but they were all awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. He's not in a whole lot.
Yeah, he's not in a ton of movies, but he was awesome. It's a movie that's set in, I believe, the South or Southwest even.
West Texas, so
Southwest-ish.
Yeah.
And it's about a couple bank robbers who do a lot of petty crimes, and they're doing these crimes to make money, but one of them has more of a heart, and the other brother, these are 2 brothers I'm talking about. The one brother has a bit of more heart, and the other one's a bit of a loose cannon. And you see these 2 characters interact with each other. Meanwhile, Jeff Bridges, who's an officer or a cop or a detective or whatever it is, he's hunting them down. And it's a really compelling story. It's gritty. You feel that like gritty heat of the South, and you feel this crime and how these brothers have to like go through this emotions from being criminals and not seeing each other for how long. And there's a ton of depth to the characters and emotions and layers. And it's just a great movie. It's a bit of a slow burn.
Yeah, but it never feels
It doesn't feel slow, but you definitely feel like it's building up to something bigger. Yeah. The whole is greater than some of its parts kind of thing, and it was just awesome. I loved Hell or High Water.
Yeah, I think it develops 2 groups or 2 duos of characters separately in a very good way that feels seamless. You kind of transition in between their 2 stories and how they end up meeting, and I think it's very, very well done.
And I'm really hoping it gets nominated for Best Screenplay.
Yeah, I hope it wins Best Screenplay.
That'd be nice, too. So, Tim, what's your number 9?
Number 9 was, it's not always considered a comedy, but I'd say it was the funniest movie of the year. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling star in The Nice Guys, where they play 2 private investigators who are separate, trying to kind of work on the same case, and they end up joining forces and working together to solve a murder mystery, essentially. And I'm not a huge fan of murder mysteries because I think they're very convoluted, and I don't like when I have to pay attention really hard to figure out what's going on. But I think this movie did a great job of kind of taking you along for the ride and not making you have to think too much. And it succeeds both as a comedy and a mystery, and that was very refreshing.
It's a good movie. I have some words to say about it somewhere else on my list. So that's your number 9. I'm going to jump into my number 9 right now, and that is a movie that a lot of people didn't see, but it's a great movie. I definitely recommend it for everyone.
I didn't know about it at all when it came out.
Yeah, it was a smaller movie. Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman in Eddie the Eagle. Eddie the Eagle is a heartwarming movie set in the 80s based on a true story about a young man who really wants to be in the Olympics, and he's trying to figure out a way to make it in. So he decides, you know what? There's no British Olympic team for ski jumping. I'm going to become a ski jumper. One of Britain's very few, even first, I think. And it's a great, heartwarming comedy sports film. I kind of liken it to Rudy. It's about a character who has to, from the bottom up, overcome the odds of being good at the sport they want to be in. And it's really just heartwarming, and you're cheering them on the whole way. You're hoping they succeed in what they do. And it's amazing. I think Taron Egerton's a phenomenal actor. I really want to see what else he's going to do. This year, he's actually going to be in Kingsman 2 and the Billionaire Boys Club, I think. We'll talk about the Billionaire Boys Club on a future episode. And it was awesome. And Hugh Jackman, I like seeing him do different roles that aren't Wolverine.
Yeah, right.
This one, he plays a hardened ex-Olympiad who ends up coaching Taron Egerton's character and making him the ski jumper he wants to be. It's amazing. You could check it out. And it's a movie you could watch with anybody. You could watch it with a significant other. You could watch it with your parents, with your kids. You could watch it with your buddies. Everyone's going to enjoy it. It's just a good, clean, awesome movie.
Yeah, it's super fun and heartwarming, and there's a lot of character development on both sides, and it's just really nice to watch.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Taron Egerton, star of The Kingsman, and so far those are the only 2 movies I've seen him in, and he's been excellent in both.
And I think recently he voiced a character in Sing. So
yes, he did voice one of the main characters.
So I guess he's got a good singing voice too.
Ah.
So Tim, give me your crazy 8.
My crazy 8 is a movie that could possibly win Best Picture at the Oscars. It won Best Actor, Casey Affleck, at the Golden Globes this weekend.
Oh, hinting.
And it's Manchester by the Sea. It's a nice, not so heartwarming film. Like
Not
Eddie
really,
Eagle,
yeah.
But it's...
It is in times, but continue.
Yeah, it is in times. It's a great look at a man's life in Boston who's had a lot going on, and suddenly, well, not so suddenly, his brother passes away, and he has to take care of his brother's kid. And it shows his life and how he got there, and it's beautifully acted. Casey Affleck well-deserved his Golden Globe. Definitely the front-runner for Best Actor at the Oscars. I thought he was phenomenal, and this movie has my favorite movie moment of the year, a part, I'd say, toward the climax of the movie, where you find out exactly why Casey Affleck acts the way he acts.
Why his life's been on like this downward trajectory.
Yeah, why he's not happy in the way.
And yeah, that
and
moment
it's
will
incredibly
shock you.
powerful.
It's insane.
I almost cried, not from sadness, but for how much I felt during this movie. It was perfectly done.
And you don't see Casey Affleck in much. It's more Ben Affleck, who had a terrible year, actually.
Not great.
So hopefully Casey can turn that Affleck luck around.
The only reason this movie isn't any higher, even though it had excellent directing, excellent acting, and my favorite movie moment of the year, is because there were parts that I felt were weak slightly after that moment. In, like, maybe the third quarter of the movie I thought was relatively weak.
Okay.
But it's definitely a great movie, still made my top 10.
Awesome. My number 8 is a movie by Dan Trachtenberg starring John Goodman, and it was amazing, 10 Cloverfield Lane. This is the sequel to J.J. Abrams produced 2008 movie Cloverfield, and it came out of nowhere.
Sort of sequel?
Yeah, it's a semi-sequel, kind of spiritual, kind of sister of a movie. This movie was announced like 2 or 3 months before it actually came out, and no one even knew it was getting made. So right there, right off the bat, it has that Cloverfield marketing, and it's awesome. You get to see John Goodman's character, who plays this kind of, could be crazy, could not be crazy guy, who kidnaps, I forget her name, but the main female character is the star of the movie. He kidnaps her, or he takes her down to his bunker. Is it a kidnapping? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. And you get through all this emotional moments of, is he crazy? Is he not? Is this girl going to get out? Is she not? What's going on? Why is there even a bunker? And it's just an awesome mystery that builds to a huge climax. You get a lot of emotionally powerful moments, especially from John Goodman, who brought his A game to this movie. John Goodman, I mean, he's great at freaking out, but in this one, he has a lot of freak out moments, but he has also a lot of smaller acting moments, like a little tick here.
Yeah, it's just like little nuances that he can do.
Yeah, it's a lot of nuanced performance from him, and it's creepy, but you kind of like him at some points. And if you can do that with a character where you're terrified of him and like him at the same time, that's just an incredible performance. Hopefully the Academy takes note of that. And
I really want him to be nominated. I want him to win, but I'd be very happy if
he was nominated. That would be awesome. And this movie only features really 3 main characters.
Yeah,
and all 3 of them did an incredible job. The guy in this movie, he was in Hush also this year, and I think he's going to be on my radar too.
I enjoyed it a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought all your points I agree with. I'm really excited to see maybe a new Cloverfield, even though I don't think this movie was anything like Cloverfield. But I love John Goodman. I'm excited to see Patriots Day for Mark Wahlberg and for the story, but more for John Goodman.
John Goodman, see
even
what he
if
has.
He's barely in it.
And her name was Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Thank you very much.
Oh,
I did
good
like
job.
8 times the brain processing power to find that, but there's her name. So that was my number 8. Tim, what do you have for number 7?
Number 7, Sing Street. It was nominated for Best Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes. It's a movie set in Ireland, and for some reason, Irish movies are always good.
Yeah, it's an interesting trend.
Yeah. Irish movies and Boston movies, which are essentially later Irish movies, are all good. But Sing Street follows a young 15-year-old boy who moves, he's kind of poor, he moves into a Catholic, more poor Catholic area, and goes to a Catholic school that's like very strict, and meets some kids, and they start a band because he likes a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And he does everything he can to impress the girl. It's a great, almost coming-of-age movie where he's not really too well liked in the beginning, doesn't have any friends. Then he uses his musical talents to become very popular, has this big friend group, including the band. And there's a lot of adversity in the movie between all the relationships and different characters and the obstacles they face at school. And it shows how well everyone can overcome things, and also has awesome music.
Yeah, I agree with all those points, and I'm going to elaborate on them in not too long.
I loved it. I had a lot of fun. Number 7.
There's your number 7. My number 7 is Seventh Heaven for me. It's Everybody Wants Some. This is a movie that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. It's definitely a smaller movie. It's an indie movie by a great director, Richard Linklater, who, if you haven't seen any of his work, check it out. You've seen School of Rock. You've seen Boyhood. Yeah. Same guy. And this is a movie set in the 80s. It follows a team of college baseball players, and it's all set through one weekend. And it's a kind of a coming-of-age story, too, where you see these men interact with each other. You see how they grow relationships with each other, because some are new to the team. Some have been veterans. You kind of see the camaraderie, and it's just a fun guys movie. I think you could watch this with your buddies. You grab a beer. You have a good time. And just watching the movie, you can't not like any of the characters. Richard Linklater always writes really likable characters. You want to be friends with everyone he writes, or you want to at least get to know them more. They're always interesting. The story is not the most compelling, obviously, but it's just nice to see a quieter, kind of a calmer movie that doesn't have huge world-ending plots or anything crazy, super depressing. It's just a fun, good time at the movies. I'd equate it to like easy listening for music. It's like an easy watching movie, and it's just fun. I had a great time watching this.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very relatable to another Richard Linklater movie, Dazed and Confused, as well as Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Just one of those like chilled, school-ish movies where they try as hard as they can to not school.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I didn't like about it is, like you said, it's easy listening, so there's not a whole lot to care about, in my opinion. So that's why it's not on my top 10, but it's definitely a well-done movie with likable characters.
Yeah, I definitely think in the same realm as Dazed and Confused. First off, the soundtrack is awesome. You could just buy the soundtrack alone and listen to it for a good hour and have a good time. But also, it's like not a very plot-heavy movie, but every character in both of those movies, you like them, you understand their personalities, and you want to see what they do throughout their night or their weekend. And yeah, check out Everybody Wants Some. It's awesome, and hopefully Richard Linklater has some more good movies for us soon.
Yeah. All right, getting into the top 6. This will be our first repeat of, I assume, several.
Yeah, there's a few.
Eddie the Eagle is my number 6. We already talked about the main reasons why we love it so much, and I just love feel-good sports movies. I love Rudy. I like Remember the Titans. Yeah. They're just really fun and easy to watch, but the plot always ends up being a world or a game changer for these characters in particular. And like Eddie the Eagle, apparently you talk to anyone from Great Britain, they all know who he is. And he was just this kid who was disabled or in a slight way. And then he became this superstar. And it's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think part of his story being so well known is it's inspirational. It's like Rudy, you're inspired by this guy's tenacity to achieve this goal, and you have a good time watching his journey. So I'm glad Eddie the Eagle's pretty high up on your list. Yeah, I like what I see.
Top 6, and they only get better.
All right, we're in for another repeat. You talked about it earlier, Sing Street. I think Sing Street is John
very
Carney's
close.
movie. He made Once a few years ago, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, at least musical-wise. And this definitely doesn't disappoint. The soundtrack is awesome. It's another one where you could just listen to and have a good time without even watching the movie.
You can go
And,
anywhere.
And the plot, like you mentioned, is pretty much this guy moves to a public school, this kid, and he makes some friends, and they're like, let's start a band because I want to impress this girl. And it doesn't get any better than that. That's just a classic movie plot. It's a classic story. And you love watching these kids play music, and you love seeing his relationship grow with this woman, and just taking a peek back into the 80s in this Catholic school and seeing what they go through. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's just, I feel like not only a lot of memorable songs, but a lot of memorable characters in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Not just the main character and his girlfriend, but his brother too, and even some of his bandmates.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if these kids do more movies, even more musicals. And John Carney, I think all of his movies so far have been musical, and I'm always excited for what he has in store.
Awesome.
Number 5. We're in the top 5 now.
Down to the nitty-gritty top 5. I've been making this list more of a favorites rather than what I think was the most well-made, which is why this movie is not any higher. But my 5th favorite movie of the year was Moonlight. Stars a black kid into his adulthood, filmed in 3 parts, like the Steve Jobs movie that came out last year with Michael Fassbender. And it's 3 important parts of this kid Chiron's life, living in drug-ridden Miami, Florida, with a single mom, and he's also gay, so that's very adverse. And it's excellent. Directing, cinematography, acting, all awesome. They really make you care about this kid, and they do a phenomenal job of tying everything together and making you feel for him throughout the entire movie, and by the end, it all just comes together as one, and it's a really good journey. It's heavy. It's a very heavy movie. It's kind of sad in ways, and it's a nice view into a world that a lot of us maybe are not used to.
Yeah, I've been hearing nothing but good things. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Moonlight yet, but I'm going to agree on your point of this is definitely a top 10 favorites list, so it's hard to make. I mean, you guys shouldn't be too offended if our top 10 aren't the best made movies of all time, but it's movies we enjoyed. And we'd love to see or hear what you guys think are your favorite movies in the comments below, on our Facebook page, anywhere on our social media. And that's your 5. That's a great pick. I've been hearing cool things about it. My 5 is another not repeat. It's not on your list, I don't think. Yeah, it's not. My 5th movie is Nocturnal Animals. This is Tom Ford's second directorial effort. It features a pretty good cast. You have Michael Shannon, Amy Adams, Jake Gyllenhaal, and he just won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes.
I've been losing a lot of
For
names,
this
but
movie.
he was
He
awesome.
played
This is a
kick-ass.
movie. This is like 2 movies in one almost.
Yes.
This features Amy Adams' character, who's a rich bourgeois kind of fashion or art designer, and she gets a book from one of her ex-lovers, and a book he's written for her. And as she's reading the book becomes, it's brought to life through the film. The film is like a movie within a movie. You see the actions of this book dramatized, and the book will get your heart racing. The moments in this book will scare you. Aaron Taylor Johnson will freak you out. He's creepy. He's menacing. He's awesome. And the book features the characters I mentioned, Jake Gyllenhaal, Michael Shannon, Aaron Taylor Johnson. And in the outside world, we also have Jake Gyllenhaal, and we have Amy Adams. And Jake Gyllenhaal has a real character and the book character, and he plays both of them really well. The real character we see more in the flashback type of moments, and the book character is just a guy who's just defeated. I'm not going to say why because I want everyone to watch it, but it's awesome. And it definitely features the weirdest opening to a movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's definitely artsy. I don't know what it meant, but it definitely has, I mean, it has its place in the movie, I guess. It fits the theme of like weird art and weird stories and just weird people. And Tom Ford, I'm down for whatever he wants to do, and also he's a fashion designer, so I might have to pick up some Tom Ford clothing.
Jay-Z's Tom Ford.
Yeah, Jay-Z
Tom
likes
Ford.
him. On the red carpet, a lot of people were wearing Tom Ford, so he had a good night this week.
Yeah, he definitely had a good night. I loved the movie within a movie. Thought it was excellently done, very well acted. Michael Shannon and Jake Gyllenhaal were both really, really good, and Aaron Taylor Johnson, who did win. I believe Michael Shannon was a little bit better, but he was also too close to Jeff Bridges' character from Hell or High Water to really for either of them to really stand out.
Yeah, they had a lot of similarities, definitely.
Yeah, so I felt like the movie within a movie was a lot like Hell or High Water, which is not a bad thing, but I wasn't a big fan of the movie outside the movie. I don't think it was one of Amy Adams' better performances, and I thought it was very pretentious and in your face. It did make sense, and I don't think it was poorly done. I just didn't get too into it, which is why, even though I did enjoy a lot of the movie, especially the movie within a movie, I didn't quite put it in my top.
Yeah, the movie definitely took its artistic liberties, which could come off as pretentious to some people. I thought it was fantastic, and it fit the tone of the movie pretty well. Amy Adams, I guess if we're ranking in the terms of performances in the movie, she was one of the weaker performances, but she still did great. The best performance I thought was Jake Gyllenhaal, with Aaron Taylor Johnson a close second, and Michael Shannon even closer third. So it was really cool.
I love Jake Gyllenhaal. He was really good in it.
Yeah, and the book within a book was called Nocturnal Animals, which is kind of cute. So
yeah,
I would read that book, honestly, if that book came out. Oh yeah, and I believe the movie was based on a book, so that's a book worth checking out. So Tim, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is another one that was already mentioned, Hell or High Water, which I just mentioned. It's a really cool, almost like Western thriller mystery kind of deal.
Yeah.
And maybe a little less mystery, but I think all 4 main performances are excellent. There's
mystery, intrigue, drama.
That's Nocturnal Animals. But Chris Pine, the guy whose name we can't remember, Jeff Bridges, and another guy whose name we never knew in the first place, who plays his deputy, his partner.
Yeah, his like assistant deputy or whatever it would be.
Because he plays a cop. I think they're all great. Like I said before, the relationships between all 4 characters are really, really interesting and well done. And I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Really, really enjoyed it.
The guy whose name we keep forgetting is Ben Foster. There we go. And he was in X-Men The Last Stand. He was Angel. Ooh. So that's what I remember him. He's probably been in some other things we've seen, but he was awesome. Sorry we forgot your name. We love your movies. Keep it going.
All 4 of them did an amazing job. Really, really liked it.
Do you think it's going to be up for any awards this week?
Yes.
Yeah?
I do. I think Ben Foster or Jeff Bridges could be up for supporting actor. I think it could possibly be up for best movie. Not sure. I'm going to say probably not, but it's got an outside chance. Because Mad Max won so many awards and was nominated for so many things last year that I think people are taking notice of some maybe higher profile actors in movies that came out before Oscar season.
Before Oscar season, yeah.
That Which are still
like.
very good.
I like that Oscar season's kind of spreading itself out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good for us, too, because we get good movies more consistently.
All the time. Yeah. And not just the really, really well-done movies in January.
Yeah. And another good movie that came out pretty earlier on in the year was my number 4. It's The Nice Guys. You mentioned it earlier briefly. I think it was your number 9, right?
Number 9.
It was your number 9. The Nice Guys is Shane Black. He did Kiss Kiss. I was excited for this. Russell Crowe, he's a great actor. I was excited for this. And it did not disappoint. I went into the theater and I completely enjoyed the whole thing. It's a 1970s crime drama comedy. More crime and comedy than drama. And it has a neo-noir kind of feel to it. It has a really awesome vibe about these 2 PIs you mentioned trying to solve this case. But this case is a lot more nuanced and layered than you would think. And it leads them down a rabbit hole of meeting interesting people and going through interesting plot lines. And it was really funny. I agree that it's one of the funnier movies of the year. I was laughing a lot, especially Ryan Gosling. He has like insane comedic timing.
Yeah.
There's one scene
Even
earlier
Russell Crowe, he just plays like a good
Russell Crowe plays a good foil to this guy, and it's just awesome. Ryan Gosling, I'm excited to see him do more comedies. I actually saw Lars and the Real Girl last night. It's a movie he made like 9 years ago. It has comedic elements, but it really shows how much of a good actor he is, and he's shown in this movie. And Shane Black is almost like a part of the movie too. You get his style throughout the movies he makes, and his style definitely shows through this, and it's kind of a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Like every other Shane Black movie, there's a bit of Christmas in there.
Shane Black just likes to put Christmas in his movies. Maybe it makes more money.
I don't know. Maybe he can market it around the holidays easier. He can show the one little Christmas bit, but it was awesome. And yeah, what else did I like about this movie? The soundtrack was cool. You don't notice it too much, but some of the score is awesome.
It was kind of like a 70s funk type of
movie. It was a 70s funk feel. That. And one character we didn't mention a lot is this younger daughter that is in the movie. She's like 10, 11 years old. She's an awesome actress.
Now, question. Who do you think was the best young blonde girl to act this year? Her or the girl from Ouija?
The girl from Ouija was definitely creepier. She played creepy really well. But this girl played like a likable girl who's dealing with her bumbling father, who is Ryan Gosling, really well. And she had like mature qualities to her, but she's also a kid, so she had the innocence that you need for a character like that. She's great. I'd like to see what else she does. I believe she's Australian too, so bring them on over, mate.
Yeah. Get whatever we want.
Yep. What's next on your list, buddy?
A movie that some people may not expect came out almost a year ago now.
Yeah, a while ago.
Movie that we mentioned before made $1 billion.
Another Disney one. There we go.
Another Disney movie. I thought it was far and above all of the other animated movies this year.
Sausage
not
Party?
As no, maybe a tie with Sausage Party.
I agree.
In the fact that it was animated.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a little bit better than Moana and much better than any other animated movie that came out this year. I loved it. It had a nice message, and usually I'm not a big fan of messages, especially when they seem like they're just thrown in your face.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty obvious, but it's nice.
It is pretty obvious, but I liked it a lot, and I love the animation, all the different colors and stuff. I'm a sucker for that, I'm sorry. But it was also just well acted, well directed, just really fun. And you felt the entire time for these characters. You really got interested in them. They both changed throughout the movie, which is nice. A classic staple of Disney. And music's good. The story is very good, and you really care about what's going to happen next. And
Definitely
there's some
agree.
nice little twists, too.
You get some cool character arcs with the fox and the rabbit, and it's a really creative concept to have this whole world full of animals and like a detective story in this world and an underlying message of racism between animals, because it's really a hot issue right now in our society.
Yeah.
So it was a nice kind of pairing with what we have going on in real life. It was definitely awesome. Unfortunately, it wasn't in my top 10, but it's one of the better animated movies I've seen this year, too.
Yeah, and sneaky pick for best song, the Shakira song, Try Everything.
Oh, you like that one?
Yeah,
That's your favorite song of the year?
it's up there.
What are some of your favorite songs of the year? A little quick detour from...
Sing Street, as we already mentioned, had some great songs.
Yeah, Sing Street had some good ones.
Up and Drive It Like You Stole It are both excellent.
Two you should check out.
The Zootopia song, like I said. Moana, that I just mentioned, has How Far I'll Go and You're Welcome, sung by The Rock
The
himself.
Rock, that's a catchy song. That one's going to get stuck in your head.
That's
if you guys
really
haven't
catchy.
heard it, check that one out. I'm going to agree with Drive It Like You Stole It is one of my favorite songs of the year. And I have another one, which I'm going to mention a little bit later. But Drive It Like You Stole It was awesome. Sing Street's just a good soundtrack, man.
Yeah.
That's really well
really
written
fun.
music. So Zootopia is your number 3. What would you say is the second best animated movie of the year?
Moana.
Moana?
Yeah. And then the nice little trio of Finding Dory, Secret Life of Pets, and Kubo and the Two Strings is kind of a distant third in that whole
they all
group.
kind of fall in that realm. I'll
Not
agree with you.
bad, like solid movies, but nothing special really.
Yeah, I agree.
in my
Zootopia,
opinion.
then Moana, then Kubo for me would be like my definite top 3. But no animated movies on my list. My number 3 is one you mentioned earlier, and it's Manchester by the Sea. And this is, again, not a really heartwarming movie, but it's touching. There are touching moments, and there's depressing moments. But it's one of Casey Affleck's best performances that I've seen, at least. I know he hasn't done many.
I think it's the only one I've seen.
Yeah,
and
I know I've seen him in the
I want to see him in
Oceans
more
movies.
now.
He's in the Oceans movies. He's kind of a goofier character
right.
in those. And we saw him in Tower Heist, but he looked bored throughout that whole
okay.
thing. But Ben Affleck had Batman vs. Superman, The Accountant, and Live by Night, which were all rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe. So he had a horrible year. Casey Affleck turned the Affleck look around. He was incredible in this movie. He plays this pretty much emotionally drained guy who has like nothing going for him until one day his brother dies and he's bequeathed with a lot of responsibility he didn't know he wanted and he has to take on. And you have him and all the other characters in this movie. You kind of figure out their relationships. It's a very emotionally dense movie, and it has a lot of like touching moments, and they feel really raw and real and emotional, and you can't help but feel for this guy and really get sucked into the story. I do agree that there are a couple pacing issues. It could be a shorter movie, but on the other hand, it's also a movie that I could watch for a longer time just because I'm so interested in this town and this world this guy lives in and the relationships he has. So Manchester by the Sea was awesome. Again, I hope it's another Best Screenplay at least nomination. It's going to be Best Picture, obviously. Best Picture nomination, I mean, obviously. And Kenneth Lonergan, or Keith Lonergan, is the director, and he directs this marvelously. There's the depressing moments we mentioned, but there's also a lot of humor in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's so much funnier than I expected.
Yeah, he wrote the movie, and he really balanced the depressing moments, following them up with like a more comedic moment, so you don't feel completely drained yourself like this character.
And they that way they feel more like humans, where they can still laugh through the pain, especially in Boston.
Because that is life.
Seems to be a theme there.
Life is just comedy and tragedy, really. And this movie has a great mix of both of those two. So Manchester by the Sea, you're my number 3.
Yeah, every moment in that movie is earned. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Well, not so fun.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to be in a theater like that and see a movie experience like this, because this is what movies is. It's bringing you into stories and other people's lives who may not exist, but you get attached to them, and you're like, you know what? That was a great 2 hours in a movie theater.
It feels very satisfying when they introduce something new and you have a question about it, like, what is this? Ooh, this is interesting. And then pretty much right away they tell you what it is, and it just makes everything so satisfying without feeling cheap.
I definitely agree. So we're going to move on to our top 2 now.
This is big.
These are big. These are some big picks.
This is real big.
So Tim, tell us what you got for number 2.
Another movie that was already mentioned.
Yeah?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
You got to mention it.
It was close to my number 1. I was hoping, but there's one movie that was just slightly better. I loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was so excited watching it. And it's not really a Cloverfield movie, I don't think. It's not really a monster movie. And I could do away with those aspects of it, but I don't think they hurt the movie. And they made it a little cooler and more action-y, but without giving away anything. Mm-hmm. But I did love the acting and the suspense and the fact that it's just very well contained. It's a simple movie. There's not a whole lot of plot or dialogue. Well, there is dialogue. The dialogue is how it flows, but there's not a whole lot of action or things that go on.
Yeah, there's pretty much one main plot point, and it's why they're in this bunker.
But when something does happen, it's earned and it's really powerful, and it makes you gasp and feel excited and have butterflies in your stomach, and
It's a really interesting movie. You're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's definitely one of those movies. And have you played the Portal games?
I've seen them.
Dan Trachtenberg, the director of this movie,
bit.
This is his first real movie, but he kind of got this job he made a Portal short film, which you should check out. And he also made an episode of Black Mirror, which you guys should check out. And it's the second episode of the new season. He's a fantastic director. The way he builds suspense with these characters and the way he moves the camera, it's awesome. 10 Cloverfield Lane being your number 2, I can't disagree with you. That's a good spot. So now I'm going to give you guys my number 2, which this was hard for me to pick, but I picked Arrival. You're going to see what my number 1 is, but it was really a toss-up between these two. For me, they're both perfect movies, so they're entertaining, which was awesome. He made Enemy, which was awesome. Runner, which is going to be great, I think.
I'm excited.
So I'm super excited for what this guy has in store, and I really was excited for this movie. It's our big space movie that we get every October, November. It seems to be a trend that every early fall we get a cool space movie. We've had Interstellar.
Passengers failed us.
Yeah, Passengers was a
flop.
Stink box, yeah. But Arrival features aliens come to Earth, and they speak a different language, and we're trying to see what are they trying to tell us? Why are they here? And we need a great linguistics expert to help us, and that's where Amy Adams comes in. And you see her interactions with these aliens. You learn about language in a way you've never thought about before. Her and Jerry ship that is pretty interesting to see. And it gets your gears going. It's one of the movies where you have to think a bit to follow along, but you don't mind the thinking because you're thinking in new and exciting ways. And that's how I felt. It kind of felt like Interstellar to me in a way where you have to think about time and relativity and these things a little bit differently. And then you also have to think about just language. I mean, when you talk, every sentence you say, movies are language. They're visual language, they're written language, they're verbal language. And you're just really thinking about the language you talk. And other cool things about this movie, I thought the cinematography was fantastic, as usual with Denis Villeneuve. The design of the aliens, I'm not going to tell you how they look, but it was interesting. It's definitely a design I haven't seen before as far as aliens go. And what else did I like? Jeremy Renner's in this movie. He's really cool. He plays a mathematician where she's the more sciencey guy, whereas Amy Adams' character is the linguistics expert, so she's more on that spectrum. And they clash at times, and they interact at times, and it's interesting seeing all these aspects of science and life come together in a way where you can meet aliens and kind of think, how are we going to talk to these guys that are from another universe for all we know? So it's really cool. I loved Arrival.
I'm going to have to agree with all those points. It was really a thinker, a movie that you could watch over and over again and find new aspects of it that you missed. There's lots of huge reveals that never seem cheap or cheesy. They're all earned, and they all make you think, wow, this movie was excellently done, very well paced, and the reveals they all felt necessary.
They all felt earned. And when you get to that final reveal after being given so many pieces and morsels of clues throughout the movie, it really is just awesome experiencing that. And it's another great movie theater experience, I think. Another point I want to bring up is I think Johan Johansson wrote the score for this movie, and the score really pulls you into the feeling and the vibe of this movie. It's a little bit eerie, it's dark, it's mysterious.
You almost don't notice it at times because you're so focused on the movie and what's happening and what's going to happen to these characters. But at the same time, it would feel a lot different, and you wouldn't feel as encapsulated or as eerie without the music. Score.
When you do kind of step out of yourself and you hear the music for a bit, you're like, wow, that's really enveloping. It really pulled me into the movie. So I think that's I think every aspect of this movie really is amazing.
And
so
it had a really solid theme that was encompassing over the whole movie, but also many other little side snippets and songs. And
the score kind of reminds me of Under the Skin score, which is also eerie and mysterious and creepy. I mean, that's a movie for another time, but that's just one thing that I noticed and picked up on. So I wonder if there's an influence there, maybe.
Yeah, very possibly.
So we're kind of to the end of our top 10 here. We're going to go to your number one movie of the year. It's a big one.
It's a nice transition. I don't think it's any surprise. My number one is Arrival.
We're going to move that picture over here.
That's very tough work.
Yeah. So Arrival, what didn't I mention that you want to bring up, or what do you want to say again, just because it was so good?
When I was talking about before, I don't think Amy Adams' performance in Nocturnal Animals was that great, because I saw how incredible she was and how much attention to detail she brought to this movie. Mm-hmm. She was excellent. Jeremy Renner was excellent. Even some of the other lesser known characters were excellent on all the side supporting characters. It was really interesting. The movie, it wasn't like at the end of the movie I walked out and was like, oh my God, that was amazing. I need to see it again. I was just thinking, what the heck did I just watch?
You got to wait for it
what
to sink
is
in,
going
right?
on? And then it just has to sink in. But the entire time during the movie, it just really appealed to the intellectual in me. And it just really makes me happy and excited that people think differently. And people know that people think differently. Like, humans are just kind of brainwashed into thinking one particular way. Like, the color red, everyone sees red the same way. Maybe they don't. Everyone thinks of language sequentially. Maybe they don't. Everyone thinks of everything in the same way. It's very confusing and interesting, and it's just a very out-of-the-box type movie. I didn't love the visual style of it. It's very dark and gray and dreary, but it fit in with the movie, and the concept was so great that I did not care.
It definitely brings new meaning to the term mind-blowing, because it blows your mind a bit to think of these things in new ways. And I agree with most of your points. I kind of like the visual aspect of it, but I mean, this is your number one. This is the movie you thought was better than every movie in 2016, right?
Yeah, I thought it was better because of how different it was. It was very, not so visually stimulating, but very, very mentally stimulating. And it's not an easy movie to watch. It felt almost like work to watch, but such satisfying work.
It's rewarding.
Very rewarding when you got to the end of it.
Just really nice to know that Hollywood, through all the mess of movies we got, especially this summer with sequels and prequels and reboots and remakes of movies we didn't want that were terrible, that you can get something like new and exciting and interesting like this movie, and it could be successful. This movie made a good amount of money, and I hope it gets Denis Villeneuve or more writers and directors who want to make this kind of movie the power to make them now.
Exactly. I feel like in recent years, maybe the sci-fi genre has gotten pretty stale, or like you said, they'll make like one space movie a year, and the rest of them like kind of fall flat, and you just kind of call it a day with the fall movie. And this movie, I think, breathed new life into the genre, and I hope many directors and writers try to bring new creative ideas and think way outside the box when they write sci-fi movies or action movies or dramas.
This is just an incredible movie, and I agree. Hopefully it does bring in more sci-fi movies to the menu, so we don't keep getting movies like Jupiter Ascending in the sci-fi realm, and we get something more like hard sci-fi like this is, something more stimulating. So, great number one pick. I'm going to jump into mine. It wasn't on your top 10, so this is the one we haven't talked about. in too much detail. We talked about it briefly earlier. That is La La Land. La La Land was perfect. It's a perfect love letter to Hollywood, to Hollywood, to Hollywood. It's a Hollywood movie. I mean, you could tell this guy, the director Damien Chazelle, grew up loving Hollywood, grew up loving the movies Hollywood makes, the stars Hollywood makes, even the town of Hollywood, or the city. The movie features scenes throughout all of LA that make the place feel magical, and that's a good word to describe La La Land, I think. This movie was magical, but it was also real. You have Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, who are doing, I think, their third movie together at this point, and their chemistry is insane. These two actors were meant to act together. This director was meant to direct movies that feature music and jazz and just the love of cinema. There's a lot of callbacks to classic Hollywood tropes and musicals especially, but it also features like new modern filmmaking techniques such as the long takes, which are gaining more and more popularity now. There's two scenes that I remember that had long takes, and they're great. One's the opening scene, one's another dance number. And speaking of the dance numbers, they were well choreographed, but the music that goes with the dance numbers was fantastic. The guy who wrote the music, he just won an Oscar, or a Golden Globe this weekend. Super deserved. Every song in this movie is catchy. You're going to be singing this tune over and over, the tunes over and over again in your head. I've been listening to the soundtrack actually on repeat for like 3 weeks now. I saw this the same night as Rogue One, which I think is why I didn't love Rogue One as much, because this movie was just so good. It creates a huge gap between those two, but ever since I saw it, I've been singing the songs. Back to your earlier question, you asked one of my favorite songs of the year. City of Stars would be it for me from this movie. There's a version with Ryan Gosling and one with him and Emma Stone together. That was amazing. This movie brings to life like colors. It uses colors well. It uses the camera well. It uses just the story well. It kind of cuts back and forth earlier on in the movie between the two characters, which was interesting. And you follow them through just this emotional journey of trying to be. The movie's really all about passion. It's about following your passion and your dreams. And it might not always be successful, but as long as you have pretty much the chutzpah to achieve these dreams or follow your goals, you're going to be happier in life. And it's really exciting to see these characters achieve their dreams and the ups and downs that go along with it, and even the ups and downs in their relationship. One of the moments I really like is Ryan Gosling is a jazz enthusiast, and he speaks with Emma Stone in a way about jazz that I've never thought about jazz in that way before. And even I got interested. I was interested in jazz for like 10 minutes. That's the most I've ever been interested in jazz in my whole life. So if a movie can do that, that's already a point there. But the way he talks about his passion is just, it's like contagious. The way these characters are living life, the way they are passionate about things, the way the music just brings like soul to like the film as a whole, it's insane. This is like one of the masterpieces of cinema this year. Yeah. And it wasn't on your top 10. What is that all
You definitely
about?
agree with a lot of critics. I think there were some parts of this movie which were incredibly well done. Definitely my pick for best cinematography of the year, hands down. I thought Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were both very good. Like, definitely, I wouldn't be shocked or disappointed if either of them won best actor or actress. They were definitely good, and like you said, they had excellent chemistry together. I didn't love the music in the movie. I did love the Fools Who Dream, which was Emma Stone's monologue, sort of toward the end of the movie.
Prominent in the trailers, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was... It reminds me of Part of Your World by from The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
And it works like that on that level for me. And I just went to Disney, so it's got all stuck in my brain.
You got Disney fever.
And I really enjoyed that part. There's a song with John Legend. I think John Legend does a good job in this movie. There were certain parts of the movie I didn't like. I really liked the style, but not huge on the content, at least in the introduction of the movie. And it took me out of it for a really long time. But the build-up of the movie, and once the characters, after they're established and they finally start growing together, I do appreciate it a lot more. And like you said, a lot of the monologues in this movie are very good between John Legend, Ryan Gosling, and Emma Stone. And they do make you care about jazz, I think, which they also do in Whiplash, which is what Damien Chazelle seems to be his little shtick, is trying to introduce jazz to the general public, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Jazz is very fun to listen to, and I think he is a very good director. Again, there are certain parts I didn't love. It's a heavy movie. I don't think it's super fun. Some of you might if you really enjoy the music. There are big dance numbers and musical type stuff. That's not entirely my thing.
I disagree with some of your points. I agree with some others, of course. I think this is like the eighth wonder of the year, of the world even. This movie just looks good. It feels good. And I don't think it's too heavy. It's definitely a fun movie. It's not light viewing. I mean, it's not like a kid's movie, definitely. But you just watching these characters grow together. And I know you had a problem with some of the relationship building in this movie. I think if you guys like really just kind of feel the nuances of the script, things like that, you kind of get more of an appreciation of the movie. I definitely want to rewatch it with you at some point.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite movie of the year. You said your favorites. I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie that you saw in 2016 that wasn't released this year? Because I mean, you're not only seeing new movies in a year, you're seeing a lot of movies in between. Before you answer that, I'll jump into mine while you think.
Oh, we saw so many movies.
I know, you see a lot of movies throughout the year. So sometimes what's interesting is a movie that I really love that I saw this year might be better than my top 10. And one of those movies that would have honestly been in my top 10 this year was Scarlett Johansson's Under the Skin. This one came out like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's weird. She's kind of like an alien-like character living in Ireland, which is, again, Ireland movies are always awesome. And she's just kind of she's getting an idea of what humanity is like. She's kind of growing to like humans or hate them. You don't really know, but it's just a weird, eerie movie. It's mysterious throughout. And it's one of the things I love about movies when a director takes chance and risk and kind of does something interesting with a film. And this is definitely one of those instances. So Under the Skin, it's a 2014 movie, but it would definitely be in my top 10 had it been this year. What about you?
I saw too many movies. Turning.
Do you have a favorite new movie you saw this year for the first time?
The one that I can think of is Cloverfield, but I definitely think there's something I enjoyed more that I saw for the first time this year. I can't even think.
There's got to be something. While you think about that, we're gonna bring up some of the music again. Keep talking, or keep thinking. But
man,
we're getting in the chat that "Fools Who Dream" actually was someone's least favorite song of the year. So if you're still watching, we would like to know what your favorite was. "Fools Who Dream" wasn't my favorite song of the movie either. I think "City of Stars," then the opening song. John Legend has a song in there that's really catchy.
That's my second favorite. Definitely.
That's a jam. And yeah, those are awesome. So if you guys actually are watching, we'd love to hear what some of your favorite movies are, or even movie moments. And again, while you're thinking on that, we're also going to be giving away, not this copy of Deadpool, but we're giving away a digital copy of the movie. All you have to do is like this video, subscribe to our channel, please, if you could, and leave a comment. Or we have a Twitter page. If you guys retweet our latest tweet, we'll pick one of you guys, and you could win a digital copy of Deadpool. So Deadpool is one of the bigger movies of the year. Biggest R-rated, highest grossing R-rated movie of the year. Huge comedy. People loved it. Huge superhero movie. I wasn't a ginormous fan of the movie, but definitely awesome. And if you want to win a digital copy of your own, please leave a comment.
It was almost in my top 10 and honorable mentions. I did really like it. Thought it was a nice breath of fresh air into the superhero genre.
So we're crunching time here, but do you have an answer for that question, or do you want to move on to?
I liked Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I think Cloverfield, as far as I can remember, is my favorite new movie that I saw this year. The original Cloverfield.
Do you feel the two tie together well?
No, not at all.
Could you watch them both and just have the same feeling despite the movies not really
even a little.
No?
No.
I don't think... kind of on the edges of your seat, heart racing throughout both. You don't think?
But that describes a lot of movies for me.
Yeah, but tonally, I think they're similar. I see the connection, but you could tell it's a little bit more marketing than anything.
Yeah.
So without further ado, those are 2016, but we're not living in the past year. We got to move on. 2017 has some movies for us to look forward to. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to jump into the January picks, which are not always the best movies. January seems to be kind of a dumping ground for movies people don't want. Sometimes we get the late Oscar movies, but it's a lot of stinkers usually. So jumping right into it, the first movie we have coming out this week actually is a horror called The Bye-Bye Man. Now, do you know anything about this one?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's probably what audiences are going to say to this one. It seems like a schlocky horror. Nothing interesting about it. I've seen a trailer. Didn't care. You guys are welcome to check one out. But I think it's going to be one of the horror movies that falls by the wayside, which there seems to be a lot of. Horror isn't a huge category for like great movies, unfortunately. There are the good ones here and there, but I think Bye-Bye Man just looks forgettable.
It's hard to make a good horror that doesn't feel cheap just with jump scares. So, Bye-Bye Man.
Bye-bye. Next, we have Sleepless, starring Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx and T.I.
T.I.'s in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he doing?
He was in Transformers, and then he wasn't.
Yeah. So this one is just another, it seems like an action movie that they just throw in to have an action movie. Jamie Foxx is collecting a paycheck. It seems boring, I thought.
Well, maybe you will not be sleepless when you watch this movie.
And that is...
Or maybe it'll be awesome.
The next week, we have a horror movie that does look interesting, actually. And that's Split, which is M. Night Shyamalan's back.
Woo!
M. Night Shyamalan, he made The Village? No, what did he make last year?
Last year?
He made the movie with the grandparents and the kids, and it was kind of creepy. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, what's that called?
To grandmother's house we go kind of feeling. But anyway, this year he's making Split, which stars James McAvoy, who has a bunch of split personalities, and he ends up kidnapping some girls. And these girls kind of are tormented by like 30, 40 personalities he has. And it looks cool. I'm excited. Are you excited for this one?
Yeah, I am. It looks creepy. James McAvoy does a very good job in the newer X-Men movies, playing Charles Xavier, Dr. X, or Professor X. My apologies. But yeah, I like it. I'm pretty excited. I can see it not being great, but it does look like it's
I think there have been some early festival screenings, and the buzz is good. It's M. Night Shyamalan is back to his good self.
I'm happy to hear that.
But good. Also coming out next week, we have Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage. I've never seen a Triple X movie, but I'm getting a very Fast and Furious vibe from this.
It looks just fun. Just like a bunch of kick-ass action movies with Vin Diesel.
Yeah, it looks like Vin Diesel's new like niche is just over-the-top action, which is fine.
That's what people want to see from Vin Diesel.
Are you excited for this one?
Yeah. I think it'll be...
You think you'll see it in theaters or more of a wait till it's on DVD, Netflix kind of deal?
I think it's more of a movie that to get the full experience, you have to see it in theaters.
Yeah.
With the big explosions and
the sound
giant screen
and the big screen.
And just being encompassed in it all. And when it might actually make you care a little bit about the story, where you're not like distanced and in your own world with all the electronics and
distractions. Before we move on to January 2017's weekend, this list is pulled from 2017 film category on Wikipedia. So the dates might be inaccurate. That was our research. We didn't individually look up all these movies, but as far as I know, they're usually pretty close.
Those dates are generally the first movie or the first date that someone in the world can see this movie.
Typically, yeah.
So it could just be one theater in New York or even in Europe or something.
But if that's where you live, this information is pretty useful.
Yes.
And we're going to move on to January 27th. We have A Dog's Purpose, which is about a dog. I think it's one dog who keeps dying and coming back as other dogs. That's what the trailer gave me the vibe of. And the weird thing is all these dogs it all looks like 2016. So I'm wondering how many times has this dog died in the same year? It just looks campy, but I think kids
I was going to say that dog lovers might like this movie, but if this dog keeps dying, I don't think dog lovers would like it because it's just too much on them.
But they might get desensitized after like the 5th death. They're like,
yeah,
I know it's gonna happen.
If it's done well enough where they kind of make you care for the dog's personality, even those different dogs, it could be good.
It seems like a never-ending movie, though. I mean, if he keeps dying and going back into another dog, you could be in the theater for a good year.
I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those immortality movies where they finally get mortality or something.
Yeah. Oh, you just made me excited for A Dog's Purpose. So, moving on, we're in February. We're getting closer to the Valentine's Day kind of weekends. We have Collide. Collide, I think, stars Nicholas Hoult and Felicity Jones. You could tell it's another one of those movies where they got a nice paycheck. It's just an action movie. Maybe a new director who wants to make an action. Maybe a studio has some director who they know they can make a $20 million budget action movie and get $40 million back.
Hi, I'm Parker.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling here. Kind of like one of those movies. So, I'm not excited. You?
No, yeah,
don't
whatever.
Care? I
like Nicholas Hoult and Felicity Jones, but
yeah, I mean, a lot of good actors have bad movies. Recently, she was in Inferno, which people didn't love,
but she was in Rogue One.
She was in Rogue One, which
and
I didn't
Theory
love.
Of Everything.
I haven't seen.
She was awesome. I think she was good in both, but
so the same weekend. This is the weekend of February 3rd, just so I'm exact, we have Rings, which is a sequel set like 13 years from the original Ring movie.
Kind
of cool. That's a Japanese horror movie, if I'm not mistaken, or is there like an American?
It was originally a Japanese horror movie, kind of like The Grudge, but it was remade by like a year later maybe by an American director starring Naomi Watts, I want to say. I liked it. It was pretty good.
So are you excited? Are you going to check this one out? It seems...
Sequels, especially that come way later, are usually not good.
It seems kind of weird.
Especially horror sequels. But if it has good reviews, I'll definitely watch it.
One same kind of example is Blair Witch had a kind of a new sequel this past year, and that didn't do so well. So I could see Rings going in the same direction. The next movie There's not much known about this. I couldn't find an official poster, but it's called Youth in Oregon. And the quick synopsis is initially this guy, his father-in-law is dying. So he has to drive his father-in-law across country to, I believe, Oregon to get euthanized because that's what his father wants. It seems like it could be these two characters getting to know each other, and maybe it's a task he doesn't want to do, but over time he feels this guy's pain. That's the kind of vibe I get.
One of those classic road trip sad movies.
Yeah,
so
and he
excited.
discovers his own reasons for living or some kind of thing like that.
Hopefully it's not as boring as the state of Oregon.
Yeah. I guess that's why they have euthanasia. Everyone's so bored. They're just like, do me off now. Sorry, Oregon, but yeah, I think you're boring. Moving on.
Hopefully we don't have any viewers in Oregon yet.
Yeah, hopefully not. Well, hopefully
hopefully we do.
Hopefully we do. We're sorry.
Hopefully we didn't lose all of them.
We're really sorry. We love Oregon. We're visiting soon.
Yeah, go Ducks.
Go Ducks. So the following weekend is Valentine's weekend, almost. It's February 10th, and these are the movies you're probably going to be going to see with your girlfriend or boyfriend
or significant other.
Your mom. Yeah, your significant other. Or your mom. We have 3 movies. First, we have the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker. Ooh, saucy, juicy. Yeah. I'm not excited, but
Juicy
are you?
Magoosey.
Did you see 50 Shades of Grey?
I did not see 50 Shades of Grey.
I had the honor of seeing the first half hour of the movie, and it was dumb.
Honor.
Yeah, it was dumb. I mean,
it seems like a movie that a lot of people who like watching those shows, like with a lot of drama, will enjoy.
There's definitely an audience, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely an audience to it. It seems raunchy, and there's a desirable male character.
Yeah.
So it definitely seems like a movie that females who are single would want to see, or
they can relate to the main character, maybe even this quieter girl who's trying to live this juicy life.
Or maybe a movie that couples could see to kind of get romantic, but...
Or movie couples see because the boyfriend was dragged in by the girlfriend. Or
that
even
also
vice versa.
True. Sounds like most rom-coms.
Which is smart because it comes out Valentine's weekend, so you get 2 tickets. You get 2 movie tickets sold per viewing.
Yeah, exactly.
So this movie is going to make a lot. The first one, which came out like 2 years ago, made I think $250 million just opening weekend.
Made a lot.
Yeah. So worldwide opening weekend. Another movie we're going to have is a great sequel. This is more on the guy side of things. Is John Wick Chapter 2.
Oh.
John Wick was awesome.
Keanu so that's Reeves, what the guys go when the girls go see.
Yeah. If the guy has more say in the... If he wears the pants, you're going to see John Wick. Keanu Reeves is making his way kind of with a lot of people are doing, or a lot of actors, when they become older, they kind of fit into these action roles for some reason. Liam Neeson's doing it. Yeah. Some other people have done it. No names come to mind, but I know it's a...
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, it's a trend, and John Wick is one of the ones that succeeded wildly. I thought John Wick 1 was super fun. Keanu Reeves has been practicing a lot of his action stuff, like doing stuff with guns and karate and fighting, so I think it's going to show well in this movie. Trailer looks cool. Don't kill his dog again, please.
Yeah.
A Dog's Purpose happened 2 weeks earlier, not in this one.
Dog just came back to life. Don't kill him again.
Right? Quickly, we're going to go through a few more. We also have, that same weekend, we have the Lego Batman movie, which you love the Lego movie, so I'll let you talk about this one a little bit more while I jump around here.
It looks hilarious. Dude, Will Arnett plays Batman. Michael Cera plays his son, or orphan or something. I don't remember who plays Alfred, but Alfred's
Ray Fiennes.
Oh, Ray Fiennes plays
Alfred.
Alfred.
It looks awesome, dude.
It looks like really
If it's
funny.
anything like the Lego movie, I'm super excited.
It's a lot of charm, but I think it's less of charm and more just like a really fun, hilarious movie with just shenanigans all around.
For me, it's a toss-up, honestly, between if I'm going to see this one or John Wick Chapter 2. And just a quick revision, we skipped one that came out the week before. It's called The Space Between Us. It's about a kid who was born on Mars, I believe, and he's lived on Mars for most of his life, but he gets to come back to Earth and experience Earth, essentially. So that one looks cool. That's another space sci-fi movie. This one seems
interesting.
More...
It looks kind of like a teen drama.
Yeah, it looks more geared towards like the teen, kind of like young adult audience.
Kind of kids.
So that weekend, the following weekend, we have 50 Shades, John Wick, Lego movie.
It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means we may not possibly be the targeted audience.
Yeah, I don't think I'm super interested in this, but one that really captured you from the trailer, A Cure for Wellness. Have you figured out some more about this movie? I don't really know too much.
I mean, they showed you a little bit more in the trailer, which made me slightly less excited for it. Like, my expectations are a little more tempered now, but I loved the first trailer. Nothing's going to ever make me forget about this trailer and how interested it made me in this movie that I knew nothing about. It's kind of like Shutter Island. now, where the main character just runs around a mental hospital and tries to find out its secret, essentially.
Tries to essentially find the truth. It's Gore Verbinski, Dane DeHaan. We're excited to see what you guys got. Also, that weekend of the 17th, we have Fist Fight. I'm going to
fight you.
In the parking lot. This is one with Ice Cube
this Thursday.
And Charlie, I forget his last name, but he
Charlie
yells a lot.
Day.
Charlie Day.
From It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia, even Horrible Bosses. And it's pretty much these two teachers are about to fight in the parking lot.
Two cheesy teachers.
Charlie Day is usually pretty cheesy. Ice Cube's the tough guy, and they want to fight. I don't exactly know why, but it looks...
But they pretty much tell you the entire movie in the newest trailer.
Yeah, the trailers give a lot away, and
pretty much, I don't like when movies do that. They give you everything up until, like, the first punch. Like, they show you exactly everything that happens, assuming that's toward the end of the movie. It's very disappointing because it looked like it could be funny, and now I'm meh.
I don't quite know why this is a movie. It doesn't seem to be really dense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be dense, and I don't think... Well, Ice Cube's kind of popular. Charlie Day's not super popular, but they seem like they kind of hold the whole thing, and they're supposed to be responsible for most of the comedy, and I don't think either of them is more than kind of a side character.
I wonder what this movie is really going for, but, that's a movie we get. Another movie we're getting that same weekend, it's already out in China, I believe. It's The Great Wall. And this is one that garnered a lot of criticism and controversy because it's an all-Chinese movie, except for the main character, who's Matt Damon. Yeah, it's set during, I guess, the building of the Great Wall, and for some reason, giant monsters attack. And
yeah, I just read the synopsis of it, and I'm interested.
Yeah, it looks like
Matt
a cool
Damon plays
Chinese
a guy who's trying to
movie.
figure out what they were keeping out when they built the Great Wall of China.
It looks interesting, and I like Matt Damon. I'm sure he signed on either because it's kind of cool or mostly for the money, but I'll check it out. Probably at home and not in theaters, but I'll check it out.
Matt Damon.
Moving on, we have zombie movies again. Those are resurfacing. We have Patient Zero, which I didn't seem completely like a zombie movie, but essentially a virus infects everyone. The people who are infected become highly intelligent. The main character of this movie has to interact with them and figure out what they're doing because they're so much smarter than we are. It's hard to get a gauge of what they're doing. So I guess smart zombies is what we're seeing in this one.
That's something different.
Maybe they're smart because they eat brains. I mean, that does kind of make sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you eat a brain, are you yeah, you are what you eat.
This movie was originally called, fun fact, Patient Z, but they changed it because also coming out in 2017, not in the first quarter, is World War Z 2.
I guess you want to avoid that confusion.
Yeah, you don't want to give them more money than they're already going to make.
Right. So Patient Zero. Also that weekend we have a United Kingdom, which I don't know too much about. It's set in the 40s and it's about an interracial couple.
From the United Kingdom.
From the United Kingdom and kind of dealing with the interracial problems because it's the 40s and everyone's mean. So that looks cool.
That's a good description of the 40s.
Everybody was mean. The World War II is going on, and it sucked to be anybody that wasn't. Yeah.
Everyone's mean.
American.
They got their booze back. They were really happy, and
yeah, it was a weird time. February 24th is the following weekend, the last weekend in February because it's a shorter month, which kind of leads into why March is so crazy. The first movie we have in February was directed by Jordan Peele. It's another horror. It looks horror.
Get Out.
Get Out. You want to tell them what this one's about?
It seems almost like a comedy.
Yeah, it has comedy vibe, but it's also
like,
kind of scary.
because that's what Jordan Peele's specialty is.
Yeah.
And it seems like a kind of racial comedy almost.
Yeah,
where,
it's another interracial couple.
Where the black couple, or the black guy, meets his white girlfriend's family, if I'm not mistaken. And they seem to, not like him. Maybe they're a little prejudiced. And it seems funny at first, and then you find out it's a horror movie where all the white people are trying to kill the black people.
Yeah. So I think this and United Kingdom have a lot of similarities. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Back-to-back interracial movies. Also, that same weekend, we have Tulip Fever. And from what I found out, apparently there was a big tulip boom in the 1700s. People love tulips for some reason. So essentially, this painter he's assigned to paint a picture of this guy's wife, but he falls in love with her. So they're like, we can't really be in love because you're married, but we can move away. So we could do that by selling tulips, which are really popular, get rich, and then have a life together. That seems to be the plot, set in the 1700s or something like that.
Christoph Waltz playing the angry husband again.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz is the angry husband.
Alicia Vikander.
Alicia Vikander, who I like, is the wife who's
She's
getting
doing very
painted.
well for herself.
And Dane DeHaan, who we mentioned in A Cure for Wellness, is also in this one as the painter. And the third movie this weekend is another Chinese-produced film. It's called Rock Dog. I think you're going to like this one.
Rock Dog.
There's a dog who's supposed to be a sheep herder.
He's a dog.
But he feels his true purpose is being a rock star.
And he rocks.
Yeah, I hope that's the song.
Rock Dog.
I knew you would like this. Did you write the songs?
Rock Dog. Yeah.
This movie seems as shallow as that song in terms of depth. It just seems like a kid's movie. I mean, this guy doesn't want to be a sheep herder all his life. He wants to be a dog who plays rock and roll. I can admire that. It's like La La Land. It might be as good as La La Land, too.
Yeah, it could be. It's a musical.
So now we're jumping into March. The first weekend of March, March 3rd. What's interesting is March has 5 Fridays this year. So you have 5 weekends of movies, and each weekend has like 4 or 5 movies coming out, which is insane. So the first weekend...
Save up your money, people.
We have a new X-Men movie, Logan. This movie looks cool, man.
Logan.
The trailer... That could be a song in the movie. Are you Johnny Cash now? Okay, you got to narrate every movie that's coming out from here on out. But anyway, Logan, it doesn't seem very action-y, explosion-y, cities falling down on each other kind of movie as far as superheroes go. It seems more of a tighter, contained movie featuring Wolverine and how he's aged, and he has to go on this smaller mission with Professor X to save somebody.
It's not even really a superhero movie, even though it features a couple superheroes.
Yeah, I think it just barely falls in.
It's like a dark, R-rated, gritty action movie.
Yeah, it's like a drama, too, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it looks cool. We don't know too much about it yet. I read the comics, and they were cool. So we'll see how this one turns out. The following weekend, we have a movie I know nothing about, but you're the expert on. It's called The Shack. What is this, man?
It was in a trailer for La La Land, and it looks so weird.
What's the vibe you're getting?
Sam Worthington, the dude from Avatar, who I haven't seen since, plays a guy. Him and Kristen Wiig are married, and they have a young daughter. And they go like camping or fishing or something, and the daughter just disappears, gone. They look away for a second, she's totally gone. They're out like in a campsite or something, out in the mountains, and all of a sudden they don't know what happened, and they try to get over it, and they get a letter one day from the daughter, and Sam Worthington's like, I'm gonna go find her. So he goes to the top of a mountain, and there's this weird community with like Octavia Spencer and Tim McGraw and a couple other people, and they're supposed to be their daughter talking to them. So that's why the poster of the movie is Octavia Spencer hugging Sam Worthington, because she's supposed to be the daughter.
And I don't care. Moving on, we have
I want to know.
March 3rd. Moving on, we have a sequel, Trainspotting, T2 Trainspotting. I haven't seen Trainspotting, but I know people love it.
Do they spot a train, or do they spot something while they're on a train?
Ewan McGregor, I think they like hop trains and like travel around or something. Danny
so
Boyle
people
directs.
Spot them while they're on a train.
I like Danny Boyle. I think I'll check out the movie. Maybe
I like Ewan McGregor. He's kind of cool.
The next movie features Anna Kendrick. It's called Table 19. It's about a bunch of people who were invited to a wedding that the couple didn't really want to invite them because they were just kind of like loose friends, but they got invited. They don't know each other, and they end up sitting at table 19, which is the worst table. I think it's a comedy. They kind of are all like, we don't want to be here. And I think they actually leave. They end up leaving the wedding and just have their own little fun day. And they become friends. And it looks fine. We'll find out. Again.
I don't mind Anna Kendrick.
And what else do we have on March 3rd? We have 2 more movies. Good God.
Oh, my God.
We have Wilson coming out that weekend.
Wilson.
Which is Woody Harrelson's playing a middle-aged guy who reunites with his estranged wife, Laura Dern, from Jurassic Park.
Ooh.
And meets his teenage daughter for the first time. I guess he didn't know he had a daughter. And
I do like Woody Harrelson.
I like both of those stars.
And he's getting into the interacting with teens drama.
Yeah, with Edge of 17.
Edge of 17, even Zombieland, sort of.
Han Solo. If this is a teenage Han Solo, we don't know.
Because he's going to be Han Solo's mentor, supposedly.
Something like that. That's exciting, too. But that's for another episode. Following Wilson, we have a movie called Leap. I know nothing about
Leap, also called Ballerina.
Also called Ballerina. So I guess about ballerinas.
Who leap?
Yeah, cool.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
So March
Leap.
10th, we have not the sequel to Godzilla, but a movie that's in the same cinematic universe.
Oh, Godzilla.
Kong Skull Island. King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong. This looks cool. This looks fun. John C. Reilly's in this, and he seems to be the comedic aspect of this. But
Just
then
like in Guardians.
But then we also have Loki and the girl from Room in this, and they're like The Explorers. John Goodman's in this one.
Goodman.
Was Samuel Jackson in this too?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a cool cast, a cool looking movie. I'm excited to see King Kong F some shit up. It's going to be...
You should have brought a bigger boat.
Really cool. Yeah. You should have brought a much bigger boat. Or what do you put monkeys in? Or
Cage?
you should have brought a bigger cage.
Very big cage.
Like a mountain-sized cage.
Yeah, pretty much. Like $1 million cage.
So also coming out on March 10th is The Wall.
Not the Great Wall?
Not Pink Floyd's The Wall either.
Ah.
There's not too much known about this movie, but Aaron Taylor Johnson's in this. And him
Yes.
and his buddy are in the army during the Iraq War, and they're stuck behind a wall while a sniper's trying to kill him. And I guess it's going to be an emotional, smaller movie, kind of like Locke, or kind of like the one with Ryan Reynolds where he's buried underground, where you're going to be in this one spot and you kind of see these two characters try to work their way out of this pretty sticky situation.
Yeah.
You could die. They could die.
They could survive.
They could also
I
survive.
like to think of the glass half full.
I like to think of it as not the glass, but the wall. It's hopefully the wall's more than half built because...
Well, hopefully it's less than half built so they can get out.
Well, they want to hide behind the wall. So they
want to hide behind the
I
wall.
believe.
So, yes.
But I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen a trailer. These guys haven't given me much to work with.
Well, maybe they want it to be small so they can just fight their way out. Just kick ass. Like Kick Ass.
Like Kick-Ass. Oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah.
Kick-Ass sequel?
Kick Ass 3?
I think it's called The Wall.
Ooh.
So the next
I
one
like
we
that.
have coming up is The Sense of an Ending. It's based on a book. It's another movie we don't know too much about.
Are we sensing the ending of this episode?
We're approaching the end, and the book is about... I am not going to read all that. You guys can read the synopsis, Sense of an Ending. Maybe you've read the book.
Yeah.
Moving
It's a
on.
lot of words.
This is a remake we have coming out. This is actually isn't March 10th, I believe. This is March... We're in the weekend of March 17th. We only have 2 movies on this weekend. The first is...
Tale as old as time.
You get the hint, don't you? This is Disney's next remake,
As it can be.
Beauty and the Beast. It stars Emma Watson and a bunch of other people. The guy who plays Gaston was in The Girl on the Train recently.
Hot. Beauty and the Beast.
That's all there is to say about the movie. You've seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you could pretty much go rent it right now in its animated form. I'm not excited. I don't care. The guy who directed James Gunn.
James Gunn,
He wrote this
director of Guardians of the Galaxy 1
Awesome
and Volume
movies.
2.
This movie's called The Belko Experiment. Pretty much all these employees in a building, an office building, are trapped. And the guy who traps them in says, you got to kill someone before I let you out.
Basically, if you don't kill one person, I'm going to kill 3 people for you. If you don't kill 60 people, I'm going to kill everyone in the building.
So it's a bit of a dilemma, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
They better be getting paid overtime for that one.
Yeah, right.
So following it up with the weekend of March 24th, there was a 70s or 80s sitcom called Chips about these cops who were like really handsome, and it's getting remade for some reason. Because I think 21 Jump Street kind of sparked this remake trend of like old sitcoms from the 70s and 80s. So Chips, it's directed by Dax Shepard, who's also in the movie.
Ooh.
And Michael
I
Payne
like
is in
Dax
it.
Shepard.
So, I mean, if it kind of follows the guideline of 21 Jump Street where it's not too self-serious, I'm down. I think these two are going to be cool cops. Eric Estrada, I think, was in the original. I've seen him in some stuff. It's cool. It's a cool concept.
Mr. Kristen Bell directing this one.
Yeah, Mr. Kristen Bell. Mr. Frozen money. He probably made a lot of money off her Frozen stuff. They got a nice house.
Yeah.
Also that weekend, we have Life, which has Ryan Reynolds, the chick from Mission Impossible Rogue One,
And Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal is a gem. Any movie he's in, I'm excited for.
What
this
a
one
star.
is set in space. You saw the trailer for this too, right?
I did.
This one has an alien kind of vibe, almost to me, where they're in space, but some creature or some kind of thing breaks out and kill or be killed.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So hopefully that's another good sci-fi we get this year
Jake Gyllenhaal makes everything better.
in the realm of cool sci-fi, yeah. And third, we have another remake of a 90s show. Go, go, Power Rangers. We've only gotten one trailer for this one. We haven't fully seen him suited up on film, so I'm holding all excitement until I see how that looks. But there's a Power Rangers movie coming out.
Power Rangers.
We're in the last week
I
of
love Power Rangers, but I'm not too
March,
excited for
which
this
is the
one.
last day of March, which is the last weekend of March. March coming to an end, and this is the end of our 2017
We got the
preview.
Storks of 2017.
We have
Boss Baby.
Boss Baby. Alec Baldwin plays a baby in a suit.
Baby Boss. It suits him. He's pretty much a baby in a suit anyway.
Yeah,
So,
and that's the synopsis you're getting. He's a baby in a suit. He's adopted, I guess, or something.
and then his brother finds him out, and they got to team up to do whatever they want to do.
to hit up Wall Street early in the morning to get the nicest trades and investments going on the NASDAQ and Dow Jones and stuff like that.
To steal all the money from the monuments.
That's a cool plot. That's a cooler plot than what I just said.
To rob a bank because their pension's getting out.
Also that weekend, we have another remake, Ghost in the Shell. I believe it's an old anime, manga kind of thing.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
Scarlett Johansson plays a robot who's supposed to be Japanese and is actually not.
Yeah, that caused a lot of controversy and stuff, but that looks cool. Are you excited?
I don't know too much about the manga,
The original?
and the video games and stuff, so
But it has
I
a cool,
like Scarlett Johansson. Looks kind of cool.
It has a cool like Matrix look to it, so I'm
It
down.
again feels like the Wolverine to me, where it's this one white guy in a Japanese setting.
Yeah, I can see that vibe.
and nice actiony fun where they kind of got to get out from the outsiders.
I like Japan enough. I'll give it a
Yeah,
shot.
Japan's fun.
And lastly, we have a not so happy looking movie called The Zookeeper's Wife. It's set in
Looks good.
World War II. I think this lady owns, her husband is obviously a zookeeper, and they own a zoo, and they use a zoo as a guise for hiding pretty much escapees from the Nazis. It's essentially the Jews.
Yeah, but Daniel Bruhl, who played the Nazi or one of the Nazis in Inglourious Basterds, plays a great Nazi. It's awesome. And he looks very serious.
You're not the only one that thought that because he's playing a Nazi again.
Yeah. And Jessica Chastain, always great too. I'm kind of excited. The concept doesn't interest me too much, but I like the actors enough, and I like animals, so.
Yeah. So that's what we have coming out in the first 3 months of 2017, the first quarter, if you will.
Thank you for bearing with us in this episode.
Yeah, it's just a preview of what you could look forward to in these next 3 months. Do you have a one you're most excited for? For me, it was Kong Skull Island. That's
For
the
me,
one.
it's Logan.
Logan. Those are two good ones,
But
I think. I think
Definitely both.
they're all in March. In February, I'm really excited for John Wick and Lego Batman.
Yeah, Lego Batman too, definitely.
A lot of the other movies might end up being really cool hits, but until I
Yeah.
see them, I'm not too excited. So
How many movies from the first 3 months do you think will be in your top 10 next year?
from those first three, I could actually see Logan kind of taking that cake, but I'm more excited to see pretty much the bombasticness of a Kong movie.
I'll predict 2.
Yeah.
2 movies in the first 3 months. Because last year, I think I had 2 or 3. Between 10 Cloverfield, Zootopia, Eddie the Eagle.
Right.
So
you're gonna say 2 or 3?
I'm going to say 2.
I'm gonna say 1. I could see one of them happening
One of
at
them?
least. That's a safe bet on my part. And we're gonna get to the last part of our show, which is kind of like betting. It's our box office segment. The current scores are Tim has 21, I have 17. If you tune in 2 weeks, we're gonna kind of bring this round of box office guessing to a close, and whoever has the most points kind of gets a challenge to give the loser. So we'll see how that goes. On the last episode,
If anyone can think of a good loser challenge for this guy, please put it in the comments.
it might honestly be me, but I can maybe turn around my luck. For the last episode, some of the box office figures we took our guesses.
3 weeks ago. So
this was a
it's
holiday
little
weekend,
outdated.
right? So for this
Correct.
one, Rogue One made a ton of money. Sing, Passengers, Why Him, and Assassin's Creed, all 4 new movies at that point, cracked the 2 through 5 spots, which is pretty nice. Seeing some new movies make it in there. And our guesses, I believe we were tied. We both guessed.
We both guessed the correct first 3.
Right, and then
Rogue One, Sing, and Passengers.
and I had Assassin's Creed in the wrong spot, which I don't get any points for in our current scoring system, but that might change.
Might edit it a little bit.
We
Make
might
some nice little updates.
Update that a bit, yeah. So since we both got the same 3 correct, we each get 3 points.
Correct.
So that boosts your
So
score
I'm
to
still
a
up
24,
by 4.
and me to 20. So you're up by 4. So we know what's coming out this weekend, based on what we just went over our 2017 preview. Do you have a new prediction for what's top 5 this week? And if you guys want, we're gonna give you a brief overview of what made top 5 last weekend, just so you guys have a frame of reference. Hidden Figures and Rogue One were neck and neck, but Hidden Figures took number 1 spot. Rogue One took number 2.
One of the
Sing
few
was number
times
3.
that the predictions from the end of Sunday were incorrect.
Yeah, the estimates were off by like 800,000, which kind of flipped the script a little bit. Underworld, which I'm kind of shocked by, was number 4, and La La Land, which isn't fully wide, managed to clasp number 5. So those were the top 5 last week. Do you have predictions for what they'll be this week?
Well, this week, actually, all the movies that are coming out wide are technically 2016 movies, so we didn't really mention them yet.
We didn't mention all of them. We have
There's Silence, which is the new Martin Scorsese movie
Right.
with Liam Neeson, Adam Driver, and Andrew Garfield. Now, that looks awesome. Looks really fun. They go to Japan. Has an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes.
We also have Patriots Day, which is the, I think, unnecessary remake, or not remake, but telling of the Boston bombing that happened 3 years ago, I think, at this point. That's starring Mark Wahlberg, and it's made by the same guy who made Deepwater Horizon.
And Michelle Monaghan plays his wife.
I know you're a fan of her. And then also this weekend, we have Ben Affleck's new film, Live by Night, which is, I think, his third or fourth time directing, and this one seems to be a stinker.
It looks cool.
It looks cool, but I don't think the people are giving it much love. So based on that, I'm going to take my top 5 guess real quick. I do think Patriots Day is going to clasp the number 1 spot. I think people really like this kind of story. So I'm going to go Patriots Day, Hidden Figures. I think Rogue One's going to be still close with Hidden Figures, so that's number 3. I want to say La La Land jumps a bit because I feel like they're going to open wider. So I'm going to say La La Land number 4. And for number 5, I'm kind of stuck between Silence and Sing, but I want to give it to Scorsese and say he'll take a number 5 with Silence.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to agree with your number 1 for Patriots Day. I'll say Rogue One goes to number 2. Hidden Figures goes to number 3. Silence. I'd say Sing number 4, La La Land number 5. Silence doesn't make the top 5.
So there's your top 5. Again, thank you guys for tuning in for this episode. We know it's a bit of a longer episode. If you guys will tune in next week, we'll be back in our normal slot, and we're going to have our normal run, which should be easier for you guys' stomach. We hope you enjoyed our top 10 lists.
Thanks for hanging out for the long haul.
We want to see your top 10 list. Tell us what you're excited about in 2017, at least up till March, or even the whole year. Give us some of your anticipated movies. We should make a top 10 most anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's an idea.
And there's still time to see your favorite movies from 2016 or our favorites that you have not gotten to see yet.
Especially before the Oscars.
Don't forget about them.
And if you guys want to win this copy of Deadpool, like and subscribe to our channel. And you can either comment on this video or retweet our newest tweet on our Twitter. All those links are in the description. We hope you guys have a cool night.
Yeah.
Tim?
Have a warm night.
Say good night, Tim.
Stay warm. Have a great January.